Hello everybody. How are you today? I hope you had a good weekend, a long weekend, as it was a Bastille Day. I'm happy to have this weekly talk with one of our tribe leader, so an entrepreneur of the Sojourn community. And today we will have a discussion with Martina. She's an international speaker and a leadership coach. She comes from Canada, and she will share her story with us. So if you have some question for Martina, you can just type your question, and she will answer during the live. So I will invite Martina to join. Ah,
That is
hi
working.
Martina. So thank you for being here today and sharing your story. I'm happy to have this discussion with you because I know that it's not your first time moving in a different country, and I'm sure that you will have some tips to share with people who just live in another country. And so, can you tell us more about you, where you come from, what is your background, why you are here in Lyon, in France?
Yeah, sure thing. So first of all, thank you for having me. I think it's wonderful to be able to connect with the community online this way. Um, a little bit about me. I was born Czech, so born in then Czechoslovakia. Then it turned into the Czech Republic. Now it's Czechia. But I moved away when I was 5 years old. So in 1991. Me and my family moved to Canada. So I grew up mostly in Canada, which is why I sound the way that I sound, the North American accent. And yeah, essentially, I grew up in Canada, studied in Ottawa, the capital city. Um, I studied law and human rights because I deeply care about justice and fairness and empowering people. And yeah, I essentially started my career in law and human rights and diplomacy in international affairs. I ended up working for the Senate of Canada and quickly got this feeling that there's a lot more to the world that I haven't seen, and I've been traveling ever since I can remember. So yeah, I've extensive travel. I actually did a world tour when I was 25 years old. As a representative for a not-for-profit organization, so I got to travel through 30 plus countries. Um,
Wow.
experienced I experienced a lot of amazing things. I could go on and on about the incredible stories. And eventually, I landed in France because it was a dream destination of mine. Had not actually heard of Lyon. I will admit, I had initially, when I fantasized about living in France, I always thought Paris would be the place that I
Yeah,
had.
of course, it's the first city that came in mind. Mm.
That's it, exactly. It's it. And also as a foreigner, I think it was like the only reference point I really had for France, right? It was that Parisian lifestyle that I saw exhibited in movies, the petit macaron, the little cafes. It's just like, ooh, I want that. But actually, what made me really want to move and live in France was Beauty and the Beast. So when I was 8 years old, I saw Beauty and the Beast for the first time, and I saw Belle in Provence living this totally French life, and I thought, wow, something about France. Those people with their baguettes and their eggs, like they know what they're doing. I need to check this out. So yeah, I followed that dream with my partner about 2 years ago, and we've been living in Lyon ever since.
So it's 2 years now that you are living in Lyon.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, I think we're going on 2 years now. My French has improved slightly. I have to say, it's a hard language, Emmanuel. Like, have
Yeah, yeah,
you
I know.
for for being able to manage it because, whew,
Yeah, but step by step, and at least you try to learn, so it's good. And so no pressure, but yes, with time, and it's good that you start to practice. And
yeah. Well, it's important, right? I mean, I feel like I came to this country. I'm here and I'm benefiting from the culture, from the lifestyle, from everything that I've dreamed of. The least I can do is learn to speak French. Plus, I mean, it's fairly difficult, I would say, in France to really build out a community.
mm,
And I would say to sort of chisel out your space without kind of having at least a basic knowledge of French. I don't know how you feel about that as a French person, but I know that certainly as a foreigner, I feel like at least that basic understanding has to be there.
Yeah, yeah, it's to feel like you are part of the culture or you understand better, and to adapt also to people, to French people. It's you have to speak French, and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, it will be okay, and yes, with the time, but
That's it, slowly but surely. Like you said, there's an aspect of I think pacing myself and recognizing which things are most important to me at what given time. So, when I first moved here, um, my number one thing, and we mentioned briefly, but France is the fifth country I've lived in. So, I know well by now that the number one thing is community for me.
mm,
Establishing a community, not being in isolation. I think isolation is the hardest thing on the human psyche, to just be, alone.
mm,
There are studies and studies done about, anxiety and depression and everything that can lead from excessive isolation. And, I experienced it. When I lived in Germany, I struggled. I didn't speak German. I didn't have a community there.
mm,
When I moved to France, I think one of the first things I thought about was how do I establish a community? And if I can't find one, fortunately I did, thanks to you. But if I can't find one, how do I build one out? Because having that support network and having people around you that you can, touch base with, have a coffee with, and just socialize with is so.
mm. Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. I I just spent time abroad, but for my studies, so it was different because I was part of a university
Mm.
also, and I spent time with the family, so I was
You were kind of integrated in there, right?
yeah, I was not alone, and so it was more easy to yes to integrate.
Yeah.
But I know that sometimes it's not so easy to meet people and but yes, it's what um, it's what's it? The challenge that you faced. It's one of the most difficult challenge that you faced. This
Yeah.
oh
I would say, I mean, I think there are a couple of different challenges that come with moving anywhere. Community is a big one, and there sort of, I would say every challenge kind of comes with an opportunity, right? So the challenge might be isolation and feeling like
mm,
you're part of a community. So the opportunity there is community. How do I find people who are like me? And oftentimes for me that meant reaching out on Facebook groups and just asking people out for a coffee and being like, hey, we speak the same language. We might have something in common. Do you want to have
mm,
that? And then, there's also aspects of, how do you approach the situation? So like I talk about the three C's when I'm coaching anybody who is in a space of trying to integrate into a new culture, into a new way of being. And, that can mean moving into a different country. It can mean moving into a different company as well. But essentially there's sort of the three C's that are important. So there's that community. I think that is, one of the most important things. If we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
mm, mm,
important to human development, those basics, that once we have that food, that water, that shelter,
mm,
we're looking to commune with other people. So community, utmost importance, and I made that really important when I moved to France. The second C would be care. In this particular case, I'm talking about self-care. So knowing that, we're in this place of vast change, discomfort, all of this, moving to a different country is hard. I mean, you've been there. There's everything is different. The language around you is different. The way that phones work, the internet, like everything,
the food.
the food, everything. Yeah,
Mm,
your whole
mm,
body is getting used
mm,
to
mm,
everything. And there have been studies actually that say that moving, like physically moving locations, is one of the most difficult things on the human psyche because it involves so much change, adaptation, and it's really really simple things that add up. So, something as silly as you and I, we know our bedroom. we wake up in the middle of the night and it's pitch black out, we know how to navigate our space so that we won't bump into our bedside table, so we don't, step on the cat, so we don't do this or that. We can navigate that space with our eyes closed because it's a long time to build up. What I move into a different location is every single from that bedside table to the language that you're listening for, and the fact that you have to be so alert to learning all of those new micro habits, like exhausting. So I talk about, moving to a different country. So important. Oh, did we freeze? So I was saying that, the three C's, so community, care, and curiosity. And around care, that self-care becomes so important because we're going through so much change. And it doesn't seem like it. I've seen so many expats, like in the Sojourn community even, we've had these conversations where it's like, I just moved here, I'm really excited to be here. And I'm constantly scared and I don't know why. Or I don't know why I'm not happier. This is the life that I wanted, this, in a way, some people are living, their dream life in so many ways, and yet they're tired. They're not happy. They're not really feeling what they thought that they feel. And a big part of that is just not recognizing that actually what we're going through is a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to manage, and we have to be gentle with ourselves and even just, recognize with a bit of self-awareness, hey, this is tiring. It is going to be tiring. It's a transition period, and just to give ourselves a little bit of grace around that, and take a few naps every now and then, listen to our bodies and see what we need to do to take care of ourselves, because change is tough, and it's okay to say change is tough as long as we're also going into our place of resilience and saying, okay, and what are we going to do about that? How are we going to manage? So the self really important, I think.
Thank you for sharing this, Martina. And I was wondering, how did you decide to become a coach?
Good
because
question.
I know that you was not your first career. Because you changed.
So honest truth is, I never thought I would work for myself. I started off in law and politics, and I always thought that I'd be, fighting for human rights out there, and that I would be empowering people by representing them. A really good lawyer. And what I realized along the way, as I moved up in Canadian politics and later in international politics and law, there are so many ways to empower people. And actually, a lot of the problems that I was trying to solve through law and politics, I realized can actually be solved on a personal level. So the big problems that we see out in the world, whether it's, gender equality, whether we're talking about poverty, of the situations that we find ourselves in as societies, as global societies, these problems are created by people, right? Whether it's our consumerism and the way that we consume or overconsume, whether it means the way that we treat each other, perceptions or prejudices that we have against each other. I don't feel that policy can necessarily be the only way that we change those human behaviors. I think that the only people who can change those behaviors are us. We have to change our mindsets and the way that we feel about the world around us. So as I moved through politics and law and became more and more in contact with policies, I started to get a lot curious about the human factor and the psychology, and how is it that our human behavior actually changes? What is it going to take for people to think differently about the people on planet Earth, about the planet, about our consumerism? How are we going to move forward? So started down a big track of studying psychology and coaching, and it turned out to be this incredible fire that I had within me, that I think is trying to go down a traditional path with law and empower people that. And I realized that actually, no, we can do it all on our own. We don't have to have the policy, the top down approach, and we can change, and I can help.
It's cool, and yet like you said I think that everyone can have an impact, can make an impact on people and dedicate time and yeah, no, it's very nice and yeah, it's good and it's brave also because it's to change career and to, but it's like you said, curiosity and to learn and to, so it's
Yeah.
cool. It's cool.
Well, honest, I mean, you know this. You're an entrepreneur too, right? It's every day is learning in this,
Yeah.
and you know the traditional path. I think there's some really great things about it. One of the great things is you don't have to ask too many questions. There's a direction to go, and you know that if you follow it, you kind of end up where you're supposed to, more or less. Whereas if you're kind of paving your own path forward, it's a whole different thing, right? So yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I think any entrepreneur or anybody who tries to pave their own path has to be incredibly brave because yeah, it's something new that you're creating.
Yeah. And so now you are like a leadership coach. Can you explain us what is a leadership coach exactly?
So my job essentially is to help people excavate all the good stuff in. So I'm in there digging and helping people find what it is that makes them and how to bring that out into the world. So, you know, I work with all kinds of people, but generally speaking, you know, these are people who see themselves as creating something that's different that maybe doesn't exist yet. They're not necessarily sure how they're going to get there just yet, but they know that what they're doing is not the thing that they're doing now in the future, right? They want a change.
Maybe we can just restart what you say, like what is a leadership coach and what is your job?
What is my job? That's a good place to start. So as a leadership coach, I work with leaders and leaders team. And my job is to help people kind of excavate the good stuff, to really dig deep inside themselves and see what's amazing about them. What gifts do they have? And then how do they bring those out into the world in a way that creates a positive impact in their lives? But in my opinion, it actually goes on that. I believe that empowering ourselves and being our best selves and really, you know, coming from a place of authenticity creates a ripple effect into our families, our communities, and eventually our world. So my hope is that by working one-on-one with people, actually what I'm starting throughout the world for something that is just so much more, you know, positive and real and full of integrity in a way that, you know, I believe the world deserves.
Cool. And so you work with different kind of people, and but what is your focus in the upcoming weeks? Because I know that you have this. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, I know that you have this program for women, but yeah, I wanted to know what kind of coaching you do for what kind of people.
Yeah. So I do a couple of things, and I mean, you know this about me. On the one hand, I do a lot of community work. So, you know, I run an online Facebook group for Anglophone expat Lyon. Then, you know, I do Breakfast Club, which is a one-month get-together with entrepreneurs, which I do in cooperation with you. And then I also do, you know, this one-on-one coaching and group coaching. So, you know, typically, you know, I can work with clients one-on-one any point throughout the year, but 2, 3 times a year, I'll put out a special program of something that really touches my heart, something that I feel is really important and really necessary. And so this year, I realized that one of the things that I saw consistently on my world tour was a lack of confidence in some of the ladies that I came across. And I want to preface this because there are so many confident and, you know, strong, because I want to see more strong and powerful and brave little girls, and also strong and brave and powerful women in leads, running companies, running organizations, running, you know, countries. You know, I think of just in New Zealand and how amazing she is as a prime minister, and I want the world flooded with women like her. So I created this program essentially for just for women, specifically around years of research that I've done now on women, confidence, bravery, courage. What does it mean to, as a woman, with our conditioning and the way that we've been brought up, really step into our power? What does it look like to just get out of our way and, you know, not second guess ourselves? Just do the brave thing and put our hand up and say, yes, I will lead this. Yes, I will do this. Yes, I am smart enough, you know, and just bypass some of those internal voices that we have that tell us, slow down. Yeah. Yeah. So that's, you know, you asked what's keeping me busy right now. Genuinely right now, that's something that I'm just throwing my heart and soul into. In September, we're running our next round of this coaching program. It's essentially, it's 6 weeks. It's online. It's a group of women. So we're learning, we're reconditioning some of our, you know, our ingrained beliefs, and we're really working together to build resilience, build confidence, and come out the other end realizing more and more of who we are and who we're destined to be. So really powerful stuff, in my opinion.
Cool. And it's possible already to register on your website for September?
So if you go to martinabuchal.com, so just my name, MartinaBuchal.com, there's a pop-up that shows up. You just sign up for the newsletter there, and what will happen is when registration opens, you'll get an email, and then you can sign right up.
Cool. Okay, cool. So thank you, Martina, for your time and for sharing your experience, and also for explaining what is your job. And thank you for watching us today. I'm sorry, and we are sorry with Martina for this technical issue. The connection was not so good, but it was very nice to have this talk with you, Martina, and it was nice to see you. And if you miss the live, we will reshare it on IGTV and also on YouTube channel, so you can rewatch it. And yeah, see you soon, Martina, in Lyon. And see you.
Of course, I can't wait. When's the
next apéro? So next week we will do an apéro français. So it's like an apéro expat, but only in French. So
nice.
So if you want to practice your French, you can come. But the apéro expat, the next one will be the 6th of August. So the first Thursday of the month, as always.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah. So thank you again, and see you next week for a new IG interview talk with one of another tribe leader. Bye bye. Bye bye, Martina. I think I lost you. Bye bye.
Bye.